And good evening, everyone. Happy Halloween for those that celebrate it. 5:30 p.m. on October 31st, 2024. Hope everybody had a great day. This is Futures Brizio. And before we get started, as always, take a moment to hit that like button. Really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you're just finding it for the first time and you find the content valuable. I never sell anything on this channel. It's just strictly me just talking market analysis a little bit and different strategies and just ways to look at the market from technical and a fundamental standpoint. And like I said, never anything for sale here. So, but any questions or comments, of course, leave them down below. All right, so let's just jump right into a quick market wrap. That's what we do here at least once a day, usually. So let's talk about copper first, and this is kind of the same theme we've been talking about since the end of last week. Where copper has been just stuck inside this range, and you can see it's continued here. This is the 1 hour chart, and you can see it's holding this range right in here very, very tightly. Went up today, right back, up, back up again towards the end of the session. Nothing going on here. So like I said, guys, I am not touching copper until we break out of this sideways price action, and I don't know when that's going to be, but in the meantime, we just leave it alone. And, we'll keep an eye on it. These two red horizontal lines kind of look at the inner and outer boundary of the range I'm looking at. And so that's what I would want to see broken before I would even think about re-entering this market in one direction or the other. So, all right, so that is copper. Okay, on to crude oil. So as I mentioned yesterday and the day before, I was expecting to see crude oil come up and at least start to fill in this gap that formed on Sunday. And we did have that happen today, and I actually took two trades here. I'm out of both of them now. I closed one, probably an hour and a half or so ago. But, no, actually I did take profit. And then the other one I took down here was a smaller trade, but that was pretty good too. So I took two trades in copper here. Was pretty good. And you can see, just putting the cross here, we have come up and come up to this low, which was part of this gap, but actually the full gap actually runs all the way up to here. So that would fill in the entire gap, but we have filled in quite a bit of it after today. Now, I don't know whether this is a long-term turn to the upside or whether we're just going to fill the gap and resume the downtrend, but that is what I said was going to happen. We would fill that gap, and it would be an opportunity to long at least into the gap, which I did today. So let's see what happens now. I'm probably going to stand aside until either it clears this swing right here, which was the last major swing high before this last move down. So we have this swing right here for potentially a breakout and then a move to the upside. But anywhere between here and where it is now, and especially to finish filling in this gap, is an opportunity to look for a potential resumption in the downtrend. Okay, so like I said, for now I'm just going to stand aside on this and not do anything until it tells me whether it wants to break higher or whether we're just going to go up a little bit more and then resume the downtrend after this gap is finished being filled. And again, that gap runs from, right here to right here. Basically this green arrow, and you can see we're probably 2/3 or 3/4 of the way there filled now. So it doesn't mean it has to fill the whole thing. I said it would fill at least half of it, which it's done that now. So we'll see what happens, going forward. Tomorrow's Friday, so don't expect a lot tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So move on. Natural gas just continues to chug lower, and I just want to point out again on natural gas, if we look at the CFD chart, which is basically the cash chart, this is the daily right here. And again, we put in this, we went down here, took out some structure, came back, failed to make a new high, closed this imbalance that was sitting basically right here, this little imbalance area. We go back to the 4. And now it appears to be moving down. So I do think, just based on looking at the CFD chart, that we will have an opportunity to go quite a bit lower on natural gas. I would, suspect an easy, quick target would be back to this previous low right here, but I think it'll probably go lower than that. So I'll continue to look for shorts here, even though the futures chart doesn't look as bearish. Well, I guess it does. It's just that, you know, it's kind of at contract lows, but that's the thing, you know, and again, I've talked about this before, that, you know, futures contracts have very limited data, you know, from the past, because they're limited by the time of the contract month, whereas the CFD chart, you know, go back as far as, basically as far as you want, as long as it's been trading, or as long as the broker provides data. So it gives you a better historical perspective that you won't get on a long-term futures chart, you know, anything really above a 4-hour chart. So that's why I like to look at the CFD. And again, for natural gas, to me, looking at the CFD, it does look like that it will continue to the downside for a while still. All right. And for gold, so this is the 1-hour chart. You can see we broke this structure, and we're coming back down into, you know, into this structure. So this is kind of like a, you know, the last 4-hour structure area right here. There is a much bigger one down here, but this is a structure area here because it came back to the moving average. You can see we kind of moved sideways, and then we impulsively moved out of here. So I will just kind of wait and see what happens with gold. Again, I don't really trade it much, but whether there's an opportunity to go long here eventually, I'm not sure. You know, so we are at real big highs here. But I do expect to see it potentially come down a little bit more, at least back into this zone, and then we'll see what happens. If it clears all of this on the hourly chart, you know, if it clears this area here, you know, these lows, then I think it'll make a run down to this next level down here. So potentially, you know, again, if it gets through these lows right in here, basically where this rectangle is here, then I'd potentially be looking for short positions, probably back down to this. I'll just tighten this up a little bit. So there's the zone right here. So if it gets through this rectangle and breaks lower, I would expect that we'll make a run down closer to this next 4-hour level down here, or at least back to this area here. So that would give it quite a bit of runway to potentially go lower. So we'll see what happens with gold. I would be careful of a false breakout. Either way, I'd be careful of a false breakout to go lower, where it may sweep these lows and then turn higher. I'd also be cautious of it coming down here. It looks like, you know, giving a false break to the upside and then turn and break through. So when it gets into these zones like this, you got to be really patient and you know, wait for, you know, some kind of confirmation. Or if you're going to get in a trade, when it gets in there, you know, I would say just get in right away then and put a tight stop loss. At least it'll minimize your risk if you're wrong. But, you know, just be careful when it comes into these zones, because it will have a reaction, and you just got to be a little bit cautious. And like I said, if it does get through here, then I think there's definitely opportunity for it to fall all the way back into this area. You know, there's a little zone right here, a little demand zone here, or if not, back into this major zone down here. So that would be a nice little run to the downside, even though it's would technically be counter trend. You know, it would be counter trend on a long time frame. On this time frame, it wouldn't be a counter trend trade. We're already bearish here, but we'll see how long that sustains. Okay. And I don't have my S&P chart open today, but I think the S&P was down today. Let's look at the cash chart. Yeah, the S&P was down today. And so again, here's the daily chart. And this was the last swing right here. I think we do have NFP tomorrow, non-farm payrolls in the U.S. Yeah, first Friday of the month should be tomorrow. I don't have my economic calendar up, but I'm guessing, yeah, tomorrow is NFP. So I'll be curious to see what happens here, but this is definitely a previous demand area right here. And it also coincides with this previous swing high off to the left. You can see there's a lot of resistance over here. So I think this is an important area for the S&P. So maybe NFP will be a catalyst for whatever it ends up doing tomorrow, if anything. If it gets through there, then you can see the clear layers of demand further down here. We got this one down here and another one down here. But this one I think might be a decent one to look at, because it had this little pullback into here, and you can see this was previous resistance. So let's see what happens when it gets into here, if we turn and go back higher, or if we get a nice punch through here, and then potentially, again, there could be a run further down. This is a daily chart, so this is a lot of headway between here and here. If we look at that on an hourly chart, let's just put a rectangle here so we don't lose our bearings, and we'll go to the hourly chart. And, we'll look at the hourly chart, and you can see that's quite a bit of, that's quite a distance away there for it to get down to this box. So, let's see how it goes. And if we manage to go from here, there is another, looking at this chart, there is another potential area of action just below this yellow line, which is right here. That actually more closely lines up with this resistance area. So, if you want to use a rectangle, basically from, here to here, it's kind of a wide area, but, essentially this area right here is probably the nearest zone, which we're getting very close to. I'm sure we'll hit this tomorrow. And again, if it gets through here, then again, there's a nice run down to this next area down in here. So we'll keep an eye on the S&P. Like I said, it's not something I really trade. I don't even have my futures chart open on it, but it is something to keep an eye on. So if you're an S&P trader, these are a couple of zones I would keep a very close eye on, especially this one going into tomorrow. I don't think this one here will come into play tomorrow. It's too far away. But for sure, this one I think will have an impact tomorrow, whether it bounces and goes back up or whether it chops around and then breaks through here. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So I'll leave it there, guys. We'll see how things go tomorrow. I was going to try to make a video this morning before the market opened. I just didn't get to it. I had to run out this morning. So I had a real busy morning. I had a busy afternoon too, so this is the first time I've really gotten to get on the microphone here. So anyways, guys, I'll leave it there. I hope you have a great night. And again, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I'll look to talk to you all hopefully tomorrow. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great night.